Doing cardio and working out are both common approaches to try and lose weight, and in this video I want to go over the benefits of both of them, as well as the science behind which might be more optimal for weight loss, and if you really need one or the other or both in order to lose weight. So that's what we're going to cover. Before I begin, I am an online fitness coach, so if you would like to work with somebody in order to reach your goals in terms of weight loss, muscle gain, whatever, I do one-on-one coaching. We'll have a free consultation where we can go over what your goals are and address those in order to make you reach those goals. Otherwise, I do nutrition templates or program templates where I just give you a template and then you stick with it. There's no check-ins or anything. It's just as simple as giving you a plan and you have to do it. But if either of those interest you, let me know. Otherwise, we'll get right into the content. Now, the main thing that's going to separate the difference between cardio and working out in terms of trying to lose weight is the fact that cardio is going to be a direct source of calories, or a larger direct source of calories that you're going to burn, comparative to weight loss, where that's going to be predominantly in the long term, or it's an investment, so to speak. So what do I mean by that? If we're talking about doing something like working out, that's going to be a lot less calories burned than something like running or biking or swimming at an intense rate. Even if you're lifting fairly heavy, there has to be rest periods in between where you're not lifting heavy because our body isn't able to perform that for as long of a period of time, compared to something like endurance running, where you can run for hours and hours and hours on end without really stopping because our bodies are just better equipped for that, which is then going to in turn equal more calories burned in the same amount of time or the same amount of perceived effort. So what this means is up front, cardio is going to burn more calories in the same amount of time span that something like doing a workout would. And so if we're looking at the short term or on the day-by-day basis, cardio is going to be more beneficial for that because of that. Now, just because I named running, biking, and swimming, that does not mean that those are the only types of cardio that you should be doing or that they're the most optimal. Really, what's best for you is what's going to be the most consistent. So if you go to the gym and before you work out, that is the elliptical for you, that's perfectly fine. Continue doing that. There's really no need to change your routine to the ones that I named because there's no benefit of one over the other. It truly just comes down to what you're the most consistent with. Now, the reason that consistency is most important is because you're going to lose the most amount of weight and you're going to burn the most amount of calories doing the thing that you're consistent with. If you run multiple hours on end, but you only do it one time per week, but if you're consistent with doing 45 minutes on the elliptical per day, that could be more calories burned over a total week compared to burning yourself out on something like a long run and then not having as much calories built up over the rest of the week. Now, this shouldn't detract like something like long distance running either. I'm not saying that one is better than the other. I'm saying that whatever is the most enjoyable for you and that you get the most benefit out of in terms of enjoyment or calories burned, that's what you should be going for. So if that means you want to, mesh a couple of these together into your routine, that's perfectly fine. One day you want to bike, the next day you want to swim, the next day you want to walk your dog, whatever it may be, does not matter as long as you're consistent with it. And again, that doesn't need to be one type of cardio, it just needs to be consistent cardio throughout the week or month. That way you're getting as many calories burned as you can, because if your goal is weight loss, you want to burn as many calories as you can. Now, for working out or doing weightlifting, there's going to be a couple different ways in which we're burning more calories. The first is just going to be through, similar to cardio, the actual act of doing exercise is going to burn calories. And so in the same sense as, running, working out is going to burn calories. Now, for the same amount of roughly perceived effort or the same amount of time that you would be doing cardio, you're going to burn less calories through something like weightlifting, even if it's very strenuous, because again, we can't really just do endurance weightlifting where we're training very maximally on like a bench press and we're doing it for 100 reps in a row and never stopping. Our body just simply doesn't have the capacity to perform something that's more fast twitch focused in our muscle fibers for that long of a period of time. On top of that, it's going to be something where it's anaerobic or something we can't recover from through breathing, as it's more of a short endurance based burst of energy similar to sprinting, whereas something like long distance running is going to be more aerobic, so we can do it for a longer period of time and continue to keep our heart rate high, burn more calories. Now, on top of the fact that you're burning calories, you're also going to be building muscle. This has the secondary benefit to the fact that not only are you burning calories through training, but you're also putting on more size that then needs calories in order to be fueled. So what that means is a person who weighs 30 pounds less and all of that is contractile muscle tissue, that 30 extra pounds on that person's frame is going to mean that even if everything else on them is the exact same and their routine is the exact same, that 30 extra pounds of muscle guarantees that they're going to be able to eat more per day and stay the same size or even lose weight, because of the fact that that 30 pounds of muscle needs calories in order to be maintained. So the more muscle you build, the more you can eat as your baseline. Now, there is something known as EPOC, or excess post-exercise oxygen consumption.
What the hell is even that?
And this is the phenomenon where after you're done with your workout, you're going to have a higher rate of calories burned throughout the rest of your day, comparative to if you weren't going to do a workout and then the extra calories just aren't being burned. This can be raised after working out, and it is something that is a phenomenon that can be found. And the opposite generally tends to be true for cardio. Whereas if you're doing cardio and then let's say you're a person who taps your foot a lot, if you do long bouts of exercise in terms of cardio, and then you were to sit down for the rest of the day, you might not be tapping your foot as much because your body's trying to compensate for the fact that it just burns so many calories. And so it's going to slow down these little movements that you would generally do throughout the day in order to try and make up for that. So that is something in the terms of working out's favor, because of the fact that even after your exercise, you tend to burn more calories just at a baseline, whereas comparative to cardio, you're going to burn less calories at a baseline because of the fact that you're generally just doing less movement in order to compensate. Now, if we were to put them up toe-to-toe, what results are we going to get? In 2019, a study found that when you take two groups and you put them up against each other, one only doing cardio and one doing working out, you are going to find that the group doing cardio is going to be able to lose weight. The group doing working out is able to lose weight. However, the group that was working out was able to maintain or maybe even gain some muscle mass, which in turn could lead to more adherence to your diet down the road. Because again, as we've mentioned, having more muscle on your frame is going to lead to being able to eat more calories and still stay in a deficit. So while both can lead to weight loss, as found in the study, one could be a little bit easier in the long term to maintain because you just have more size in order to maintain that caloric deficit. Now, this isn't true in all circumstances, as another study found that the exercise known as HIIT, or high intensity interval training, which is a culmination of training and cardio, however, most people would classify it into the cardio category, that is going to help with muscle retention as you're doing more impact-based movements or maybe even some weighted movements, and that is going to help with weight loss as well as muscle retention. Now again, I want to note with all of these, whether you're doing cardio or whether you're doing weight loss in terms of working out, both need to be accompanied by a caloric deficit. These are great in order to burn calories, but if you're still going to be in a surplus because you're eating more calories than what you burn per day, you are going to not lose weight. If you want more details about a caloric deficit or how to maintain that or how to lose weight, go back to my videos and you can find the one talking about losing weight for summer and getting abs. I do a breakdown there as to how to get into a deficit, and I give a little bit more detail than I want to in this video because it doesn't necessarily pertain to what I'm trying to talk about. So now we know the differences between the two. Cardio is going to be more beneficial in terms of more immediate calorie reduction, whereas lifting weights is going to be more beneficial in terms of putting on muscle and then more long-term or gradual progression of muscle, which is going to then lead to more calories burned over time. So what is going to be the most beneficial? In my opinion, I think they're both great and they both should be implemented. My reasoning for this is to be a healthy, fit, and active person, you should probably be doing both. Now, why is that? There's plenty of people that only do cardio and there's plenty of people who only work out and they're healthy, right? My reasoning is because if you're someone who is active, but you're only lifting, you're probably going to be a little bit less able-bodied when it comes to your cardiorespiratory system. Because if you're not doing cardio, it's kind of hard to maintain that, as lifting weights isn't generally as strenuous on your aerobic system. Now, if you're someone who only does cardio, you might have less lean muscle, which in turn is going to lead to more issues in terms of aging, as muscle is very important as you age in order to be able to be mobile and able. And so I think both have their place, and both in tandem is probably the best approach in terms of weight loss, as well as just being healthy and fit in the long term. Now, if I were to only pick one, I would have to say that cardio is going to be better. The reason being is that cardio is going to burn more calories per day. You can do more cardio per day to burn calories. It's easier to do. And so if your only goal is to lose weight, cardio is the better option. That again does not take away from weightlifting, as I think there is a bunch of benefits that come with weightlifting that you wouldn't get from cardio, and vice versa. But if we're only talking weight loss, cardio is going to be the better option in terms of adherence to your caloric deficit. So let's say you've listened to everything in this video and now you're thinking to yourself, now what? I know that I should probably be working out. I know that I should probably be doing cardio. How do I build that into a routine? Again, you're going to want to find what works for you in your specific system. However, if I were to give a rough template or maybe an idea as to what you could stick to, my advice would be lift as frequently as you can for your goals. So if you're trying to be serious about putting on muscle, it might likely be multiple times throughout the week or nearly every single day. Whereas if you're someone who just is mainly doing it in order to stay kind of in shape, it might only need to be something where you lift around 3 times a week. Now, the same thing is said for cardio. If you're someone who's more focused on trying to build muscle and you're wanting to only do cardio in terms of the cardiorespiratory benefits that I named, you might only need to do about 3 sessions per week to really get that much benefit, whereas even a little bit more on top of that could be more beneficial for weight loss. But if you're okay with the amount of calories that you have, 3 times a week would probably be my recommendation. So for a template plan for someone who's busy, let's say you don't have a lot of time throughout the day or throughout the week in order to train, my minimum that I would say is 3 workouts and 3 cardio sessions. That can be every other day you do one, so maybe you work out one day and then you do cardio, workout and then cardio, or you have 3 days a week where you do your activity and the other days you don't. That looks like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, that's perfectly fine, or if it's whatever days fit into your plan. Now, again, for both of these, it doesn't need to be something where it takes hours and hours a day. It needs to be something that you're consistent with. So if that workout is only 45 minutes long and that cardio session is only 30, but it's a starting point and it's higher than your baseline, which was doing nothing, that's perfectly fine. You want to build that routine and maintain it over the long term in order to get results in terms of muscle mass, in terms of weight loss. So that's pretty much it for today. If you have any questions about the topics that I've covered, or you want help with the implementation of a plan similar to what I kind of laid out at the end, but you want it to fit into your schedule, message me or go to my website and you can apply for coaching. I will break this down completely for you in terms of nutrition, training, cardio, sleep, supplementation, hydration. I help people with all of that, and then we meet weekly in order to check in to make sure you're still reaching your goals. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. Otherwise, any other questions, leave them in the comments. I reply to every single comment I get. So yeah, otherwise, if you're not subscribed, subscribe, so make sure you don't miss out on the other content that I make, as well as like this video. I'd appreciate it for the algorithm. Thanks.